Hey guys, Kakarot197 again. This time with a review of the 1/44 scale high-grade Swivel Sentry Byarlant from the Zeta Gundam series.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
I'm honestly surprised at how long it took Bandai to finally release this thing because, as you're probably expecting, it's just a remold of the Byarlant Custom. And for anyone who's familiar with that one, you know exactly what you're in for. A big, bulky, badass looking machine. Although you might still have some nightmares about the absolutely humongous sticker sheet that the Byarlant Custom came with. But fear not. The Byarlant comes with a significantly smaller one. We get a nice shiny metallic green one for the front of the head. We get some yellow detailing stickers on the boosters and on the back boosters. We also get yellow ones on his feet. Then we get some red triangles on the sides of the boosters. And finally, we get a bunch of options for the eye stickers. We either get one that looks to the front, to either one of the sides, or if you decide to paint the back yourself, you also get two eyes that you can apply however you want. So technically you could also give him two eyes, should you really desire to. Although if you want your Byarlant to be completely color accurate, I do feel that the overall color scheme is slightly more on the bluish side as opposed to the grayish tint that it should be. Although ironically, this more bluish color does make it feel more like a Titan's mobile suit, so I guess in a way, it is kinda good. One unfortunate thing is that we do not get any kinds of marking stickers. I would have loved to have some Titan symbols to slap on this bad boy. On to the accessories, and for anyone familiar with the Byarlant, you know, this isn't really gonna blow your mind. But just because we only get a handful of accessories doesn't mean that everything is completely fine. Because when we have a look at the insides of the hand, where the mega particle cannons are supposed to be, you will see that it is eerily flat, with nowhere for the beams to actually come out.
Oh my god.
So let's quickly try to forget about the mega particle cannons that apparently don't exist and have a look at the other weapon that the Byarlant comes with, the beam sabers. They are stored inside of the arm. Simply pull it out like this. There we go. I was pretty surprised by how well they stay in the arm and how relatively easy they're also to remove. Also, these are the full-scale beam sabers that go in there, so there's no dummy blade that goes in there, then you gotta swap it out with the real one. Just one, then we get the holding claws, slide it in nice like that. Again, I was worried that these hands were not going to be the best at holding these beam sabers, but again, I was proven wrong. They're in there extremely solidly and significantly better than a lot of other high-grade holding hands actually. This might just be one of the best holding hands I've had. Although it doesn't like completely wrap around the beam saber, but I guess otherwise it would have been really hard to get the beam saber into the hand itself. Also, we get two beam saber blades, and those are the master grade beam saber blades. Of course, the Byarlant is known for flying, so it would be a shame if we didn't get an action-based connector for epic flying poses. And what's also going to help with that is the articulation, because we have a lot of moving parts on this thing. The head is on a double joint, goes nicely backwards and upwards, forwards, nice like that, rotates around a little bit and will wiggle around. Then onto the arms, the shoulder will move a little bit forwards, a little bit backwards, nicely upwards, will rotate around until it hits this flap here, which will go outwards and inwards. Then the arm itself will also move a little bit forwards and backwards. The thruster here is on a ball joint and on a hinge joint, so it will rotate around all the way, wiggle around, and go up really nicely like that for some really dynamic poses. And the arm itself, well, this part will also rotate around, and the arm itself rotates around again. We've got a hinge forwards, backwards, that looks like it hurts. Then the elbow is on a single joint, but let's face it, even if that was on a double joint, we wouldn't really have gotten a lot more articulation from that particular joint. And then the hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything that a ball joint does. Moving on to the backpack, we have these wing flaps, up and down, in and out, and a hinge. And then the waist will rotate around all the way. And the legs, these flaps will move forwards, backwards, slightly up and down on a ball joint. Same goes for these things, also on a ball joint. Will wiggle around, turn around, and everything a ball joint does. The legs will go out. About that far, not a huge amount. Also, it doesn't really matter if this thing goes underneath or above the other flap. The result is essentially the same. Maybe it goes up slightly more, but not really noticeable. We'll also rotate around, go forwards really far, backwards also really far because there's nothing stopping it. Then the knees will bend at two joints. Also have some separation going on with that part. Now, it looks like this is only about 90 degrees, but when you look at the leg of the Byarlant, normally you will see that it has that angle, so it is significantly more than 90 degrees. This would be the leg at about 90 degrees. Then the feet are on a hinge joint and on a ball joint, and this part here is part of the hinge joint. So you'll see it move along the hinge. Then the ball joint at the bottom gives the feet just that little bit extra articulation independently from the foot guard. Also side to side on a ball joint, rotates around on a ball joint, and of course we also have a bit of a toe joint going around just because. So overall, the articulation of the Byarlant is absolutely amazing and a ton of fun to play around with, which is why I highly recommend you to buy an action base for this thing. And finally, as I've said before, the Byarlant is a remold of the Byarlant Custom, so yes, we're getting a lot of leftover parts. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Well, if the Byarlant existed in a vacuum, absolutely. For 2,600 yen, we're getting a big, bulky, badass machine with amazing articulation, great posability, absolutely fantastic. The color scheme might not be completely color accurate, but I will gladly take this much more Titan-esque color scheme any day of the week. So what could possibly be wrong with this thing? Nothing. It's the Byarlant Custom that's the problem. The Byarlant Custom is also 2,600 yen, and because of that, I feel like the Byarlant Custom might just be a better bang for your buck. It's essentially the same thing, but slightly more bulky, slightly more weapons, you know, slightly more usable stuff. Because with the normal Byarlant, you're getting all of these leftover parts that also factor in the price. If you want a Byarlant, the Byarlant Custom might be a better option, but if you want more Byarlant in your life, or you think that this thing is absolutely amazing looking, there is nothing stopping you from getting this thing right now. On to some size comparisons. First of all, here's next to the Garibaldi Beta, and another Titan's mobile suit, the Hazel 2 Full Armor. And we can already see how bulky the Byarlant really is. And then finally, here is next to the standard size Gym Command and the always bulky Zaku 3. We can see that even with the Zaku 3's boosters up, the Byarlant is matching him. And that's all for this review, and I will see you all next time.